Hi, and welcome back. Today, we're talking about what to do in an economic downturn in retirement. So let's just dive in.
The Retirement Readiness Podcast with Tim Regan and Katie Umland. Presented by Prairie View Wealth and Tax Advisors. Live your 2 life.
So we're talking about an economic downturn in retirement.
Yes. Does this sound like exciting and riveting stuff for you?
It sounds kind of generic.
Yeah. So I think really what at the heart of it is, I'm retired. All the money I have is all the money I'm ever going to have. And all of a sudden the market's doing some crazy things. How can I make sure that I don't change my spending habits, make sure that I feel confident, make sure that, I know what to do during that time period, because that's probably, once you go through a couple of them in retirement, you're okay. But that first one can be a doozy.
It feels scary.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just thinking about that is like, it's such a short amount of time, or it feels like it's such a short amount of time to recover that it feels like, oh, you must act now.
Yes.
Rather than,
yes.
Well,
no, for sure. And so what I like to do is I like to kind of put things into perspective a little bit. And so what can feel like a short time period, let me back up 1 second. What happens is I feel like when I hit retirement age, I lose all of my ability to flex. Mm-hmm. It's like all of a sudden I have to be dead on because I don't have income coming in anymore that I can recover with. I have this perceived shortened time horizon that I don't have time to recover. And so all of a sudden it feels like all of this ability to have some leeway disappears. And now all of a sudden I'm like, it's crunch time. But let's put that into perspective. Let's assume that you retire at 65. A lot of times people think that's retirement age, but let's say you retire at 65. You probably are living for 20 or 25 years.
Yeah.
And so to have a couple of year period where you see your returns on your portfolio go down, cast against a 20 or 25 year time horizon, really isn't that much. And then when you look at that and say, the chances are, even if you have money left over, that money's going to your kids. So that time period now is 40 years, or whatever, like it extends even beyond. So like, even if you're like, well, what if I die and the market's down? Okay. Then let the kids hold on to it until it comes back. I mean, there's, this sense of, I have no more flexibility really is a false sense.
So it seems to me that there's like blips and then actual downturns. So like anytime there's an election, there's some activity that people panic about, but that's short term.
Yes.
So like and
it's always so funny to me because we could script the phone calls. Like this past election, when we had the presidential election, leading up to the election, we hit the number of politically conservative clients we had that were calling us saying, we got to do something different. We got to get out of the market. It's going to crash. Was very large because they were concerned that Trump would not win. Then following the election, the number of politically liberal or type of clients we had all of a sudden are calling and saying, we need to sell, Trump's in office. It's like you have the exact same conversation when really all of that is just noise. The president can have some sway on things, as we've talked in other podcasts, but really that's not going to create an economic boom or bust based on who's in the White House. And so it's, to your point, it's how do I separate the noise from what's really going on and how do I manage my portfolio?
And like, how do you determine, okay, this is a blip, head down, keep the car on the rails, like versus, okay, this is several months, years of downturn. Maybe there is something to do. And is there?
Yeah. So our suggestion would be first have an advisor, right? Somebody who can help lead you through that. But beyond that, really look before you ever get to a downturn, have the right structure to your portfolio. So what people get nervous about, and even as you alluded to it, I'm scared the market's going to go down. Well, I can tell you, don't be afraid of that because it's going to happen, right? You know that's going to happen. And so let's structure the portfolio so that we can be ready for that when it does happen. And so
diversify your portfolio.
Yeah, that is one thing, but let's diversify it in the right way. And so what happens is, leading up to retirement, everybody's portfolio has this like ideal mix, whether you're an aggressive investor, have most of it in stocks, or you're a conservative investor and have most of it in fixed income stuff like bonds. You have this mix. And so let's say that you're a moderate investor and you have 60% of your portfolio in stocks, 40% in other things, fixed income stuff. So what you do as you're working, you just maintain that mix because that's how much risk you want to take. And money's just going into the portfolio. The problem is once you're at retirement and you start taking money out, now you have to be afraid of when I need money, where do I sell from? So it's not that the market went down that I have to be afraid of. I have to be afraid of the market's down and I need money. Mm-hmm. And now I'm forced to sell at a down. And to put that into perspective a little bit, let's say that based on your income needs, you have this pile of money that we're going to convert to units. And so let's say that every year, every month that you take money out, you need 1 unit to come out to fulfill your income needs, because the value of that unit equals your retirement income need. If all of a sudden the market drops, and let's say it drops by half, it won't, but let's say it did. Let's say it dropped by half. And all of a sudden now that month, you don't need 1 unit. You need 1.5 units to fulfill the same income need.
Yeah.
So now you're spending 1.5 times as fast, which means the likelihood of you running out of money becomes much quicker, much more likely. So that's our problem set. So it's not that we have to avoid the downturn. The downturn's coming. What it is, we have to have the right structure so that you're not selling 1.5 units when the market goes down to fulfill your same income need, or that you don't change your income need just because the market's down. It's like, honey, we were eating canned soup all week because, we had a correction. Not what we want to do. We want to have smooth all of those things and not have you lock into having to sell at that down point, whether it's a short term or a longer term.
So really, should people be looking at their portfolio? Like, should you be looking very often, or do you know what I'm saying?
Yes and no, don't even look at it.
I feel like you just shouldn't,
no,
right?
You should have the right structure and allow the plan to work.
Right.
So the way I like to think about it is, have you ever gone to like the Dells or some like water park?
Yeah.
And when you're at these water parks, usually like there's this kid play area for all like the little kids to play. And at the top of that play area, there's this big, huge bucket, right? And they've got this water that's filling up the bucket. And about every 10 minutes or so, they sound the buzzer. All the kids come running. The bucket tips over, splashes them, and then they go back to playing. In essence, that's what we do with your portfolio when you hit retirement age, except we create a series of buckets. There's a bucket at the bottom that is a guaranteed bucket. That's what's going to give you your income for the next 3 to 5 years. Guaranteed. We don't have to worry about the market. It's all locked in. One step above that is an intermediate bucket. That's a bucket that says we're not all guaranteed, but we're not high risk either. If something came up and I needed to replace the roof, or I needed to have an extra spend that I wanted, like a big vacation, I could take it from that bucket because that's more discretionary, not super high risk. Then at the top, we have a growth bucket. That's your stock bucket. That's the one that we're like, let's grow this thing. And what happens is we put little triggers in there. So when that growth bucket grows, the alarm bell sounds just like the one at the water park. We tip it over, fill up the intermediate bucket. That intermediate bucket fills to the point, alarm bell sounds, tips over and fills up the income bucket again. And we have to be disciplined in doing that. So as we have growth in the portfolio, we trickle it down to that income bucket, which is guaranteed, that I know I always have that 3 to 5 year cushion there. So now if the market goes down, I don't have to look at it. I don't have to worry about it. I don't have to change my income spending. It just consistently comes out. Now, if the market's down and I'm thinking like, man, we need to do the roof. Maybe that's not the year we do the roof.
Yeah.
Maybe we wait for the market to rebound a little bit. Or maybe that's not the year that we choose to give all the kids a big Christmas present or those types of things. But our income and the way we live our day-to-day lives doesn't change. And so to the point where if you're used to taking 2 or 3 big trips a year, you still take your 2 or 3 big trips a year because that's all been built into the plan, and you let the plan work rather than being at the whim of what's going on. And
so to your your point or your analogy of the bucket, like I'm imagining like at home, our baby monitor, like if Quinny's room gets too cold, it sends an alarm. Alarm goes off.
Sure.
If her room gets like to 57 degrees, it wakes me up so that I can adjust the thermostat. But otherwise, I'm not looking at her temperature.
Yep.
So is there something like that for people who like, I know myself, I will look every day and it's not good for me. Can we set up some alarms so that if it gets below this, then I'll get notified? Or like, is there anything similar to that?
Yeah. So our suggestion would be that that really is your financial advisor's responsibility, right? It's our job to keep our eye on it.
And to be that like alarm.
Be the alarm. And if something comes up, we will let you know. But if it's just normal course of business kind of stuff, just let it go.
Let it ride.
It's kind of the same thing, to your point. Your sump pump in the basement. Like,
wait, do we have one?
Yes. How about it? Well, this time you do.
Yeah.
At the lake house, you did not, which we found out after we bought the replacement sump pump, right?
We thought that we needed a new sump pump. Turns out we didn't have
one
at that house. So,
and so but when you think about that sump pump, what happens is you don't care how often it kicks on. All you care is that the water gets out of the house.
Right.
It's the same thing with your portfolio. You don't run down to check the sump pump every 15 minutes to see, is it turning on? Is it not? Is there water? And now, if you're concerned about it, stop working or flooding the basement, you'll put an alarm on it, to your point, or you'll put something on there to trigger it. So that's your advisor is that alarm. In working with your advisor and putting together this distribution plan, you now can say, okay, when this happens, the advisor gives you a call and says, hey, we need to make some adjustments. Also, that's when you call the advisor and say, hey, we were thinking about doing some landscaping. Mm-hmm. Is this the right time to do it? And then
what's my intermediate bucket look like?
Exactly. No, that's right. And so to me, that's the best solution, because otherwise what will happen is, to your point, if I'm nervous about it and I'm looking at it every day, that's no different than me running down and looking at this. Oh, it's getting full again. Is it going to kick on? Is it not? That's why you set up the process and the systems right away so that it works.
Because I know myself, and I can just imagine Alex like looking all the time. And
I don't know if he'd be looking. You have to look at it to put it into a spreadsheet.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
He would know. He would have a pulse on everything.
Yes. Yeah. If he didn't already just have an automation that automatically put it into the spreadsheet.
And, well, that's not as fun because you don't get to manually enter it and see all of the all the numbers working together.
Happen. Yeah. So in our picture, what ends up happening is the first year or so of retirement, people are usually pretty nervous. When they go through their first market correction, they're usually pretty nervous. Once they see, though, how the system works and they've experienced it, most of that nervousness goes away. If you don't have that system put in place, if you're just trying to take the same strategy you used when you were working and apply that to your retirement, like, hey, I got this big pool of money, I'm just going to take it out as it comes. You're going to end up in a bad place. That's going to make you more nervous. Let's put together the plan that actually gets you the results.
When you're talking about these buckets, but those buckets really aren't just in retirement, right? Like, I feel like that's in general. You have your needs bucket, then your intermediate bucket, and your... For sure.
Yeah. The only difference is you don't have the income that's coming in
to fill
to do that. Right. But you're right. Because when you're working and have your family, you have your emergency money.
Right.
And I know if I need something that money's always there. Then you have kind of my backup emergency money. That is my saving for a pool or what have you. And then I have my long-term retirement money or whatever.
Thinking about Alex and I and our emergency bucket, but then, now we are having twins. So like our secondary emergency.
I'm thinking so when you say emergency, is that like the nails and the shoes and like
it's more like kitchen, bathroom.
Yes. So no, you're not going to get me to say on air that you need to redo your kitchen and bathroom. No,
You're not falling into my trap.
I'm not falling into that trap.
Darn.
No, because Alex may listen to this. I don't want him to strangle me, right?
Well, Alex is listening because he told me I have too much crackhead talk.
It is so
on that
it's so funny that how much feedback we've gotten on that comment, on that, and on the minivan conversation we had gotten a lot of comments on that as well.
He was like, I think you need to tone that down. It's like,
and yeah. So the time we're going to tone it down is the time you come in sounding like a smoker,
right?
Like you've been smoking for like 80 years,
and to bring it up again.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I stand by that comment. I mean, I think it's real.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, exactly. But to your point, you have managed money throughout your entire working career. The only things that start to change is the flow of money. So when you're working, the flow of money going in versus when you stop working, the flow of money coming out. And it may seem like a small change, but it really is fundamental in how you should structure the portfolio. And it all goes to, do I have to sell when the market's down? And we need to make sure that doesn't happen. We need to make sure that you're always in a position of strength so that whether stock market's up, stock market's down, you have a place to access money and that you're living your life the way that you always do. You still go to the grocery store, even though eggs are $1,000 an egg now, right. Like you still go and do your stuff and still live your life. And it's funny, and it's funny how that people go through those different phases, through the middle part of retirement. People start to settle in. They start to get a little more comfortable, but then they also realize that as I got comfortable, I started spending more.
Yeah.
And then they get nervous again. Am I overspending? And so the easiest way to do this, that you talk about kind of what are those, triggers or what are the alarms that I should sound? So again, put into the process, put on the calendar twice a year, sit down with your advisor. One time a year, look and say, let's recast this. Do I still have enough money? Am I overspending? Mm-hmm. Because that will give you the confidence to say, I know I'm on the right track. Have the right investment strategy that knows that I don't have to worry about selling when things are down. And then in the second meeting, be very proactive in planning for your tax return. Look and see, how can I pick up savings there? And so if you do those things, you will end up 95% of the time getting the retirement outcome that you're looking for, while also reducing the stress and risk of running out of money. So pick an advisor you can trust to sound the alarm, and that they will call you and have a cadence of, you need to. I know that once a year we're rerunning the numbers, we're relooking at them. And what happens is, it's so funny because like we just had a client in, her husband had passed away a number of years ago. She's living now in retirement, has been living a really good retirement, but she's like, I'm nervous. All of a sudden, like she looks up and it's like, I've been retired now for how long? I'm still doing this. Yeah. Do I still have enough? Am I still okay? That's why that cadence. Yes. Let's look at it. Yes. Every year we're going to take a look, just recast it, and make sure that you're it could go both ways. It could be, okay, yeah, let's adjust your spending habits, but it could also be, hey, you have some room to give your kids a little gift this year. 1,000%. It could be the opposite too. It is. Many times it is. And what happens is you don't remember that when you retired, you started taking $5,000 a month out of your retirement fund. But the plan was that when Social Security started, you were going to scale that back. Yeah. Now all of a sudden, Social Security started. You forgot that. And you're like, wait a minute, that's not what the plan was. So it's just reminding yourself what those things were. And to your point, we one time had a client that came in, that was in her 70s and she had way more money than she needed. She also had a grandchild that needed hearing aids. And she's like worried about this grandchild. We're like, why don't you pay for the hearing aids? Right? Like there's a simple solution here. Don't wait for them to get the money when you're not here. Right. There's a real need. Let's do it. But she would have never known that had we not rerun the numbers and made sure that she still had plenty of money. Because in that scenario, we can plug in taking $10,000 out to pay for hearing aids and then see, oh, look, you still have plenty of money. And it just gives you a little more peace of mind. And like
gives her permission to do so.
Absolutely. Well, and
without having the guilt. And
as we've talked before, it's like, whether you're pre-retirement or post-retirement, a huge part of this is define the monster. You know, if you've got a monster under your bed,
right,
you're so afraid it fills every nook and cranny of the room. But if you can define the monster, it makes it way easier to deal with. And so if you're before retirement or in retirement, let's just look at it, do the math. Let's define the monster.
Yeah. And
then we can get on with
the tackling.
Yeah.
The blocking and tackling. You would say.
Yeah, that's right. See?
I'm picking up so much.
So much. Yeah. So let's cover minivan, crackhead, shoes, nails,
blocking and tackling,
kitchen, bathroom. Yeah. Okay. So
successful episode.
Yes.
Awesome. I checked
park.
all my boxes.
Yeah, we did water park too, somewhere there. So,
and obviously we're talking about downturn in retirement.
Yes. Of course.
With those keywords.
Yes.
Of
course it was. Yeah. And as you talk about those keywords, you know, we still go back to living that 2 comma life and making sure that all the decisions that you're making are in alignment with your version of that 2 comma life. And to kind of refresh that, right? There's 2 commas in $1 million. And so how do I live that millionaire lifestyle? The lifestyle of abundance and freedom and flexibility and all of those things. And so that's your version. You have a version. Everybody does. And so whatever that is, manage your money in a way that you can do that for the rest of your life.
Okay. That's it. Summed up. And so twins. Twins. Yeah.
And is it
boys? 2 boys.
Twin boys. Is it getting real?
Yes. Yeah. It's getting real. Not even halfway yet. And I, as I just told Sarah the other day, not halfway yet. And I'm wearing the biggest pants I own. So I'm hoping the warm weather comes soon so I can just wear dresses.
Yes. Well, I'll let you borrow some.
Yeah. I mean, I might have to. So we'll see how that all goes.
Yeah.
But we're starting to we have like 2 bassinets. We have 2 cribs, 2 car seats.
All the fun things. Well, and we've got to get the office here done soon so that
Alex
maybe could have a place that he could retreat when necessary. And
well, the twins aren't even here yet, and Dylan and Quinny are at the fighting age already. Like we're just getting to that. So all day long, it's I was playing with that. No, I was playing with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's not getting the most work done at home.
Yep.
And there's not even 2 more around yet.
Yes.
So
just wait.
Yeah, he might have to get out of the from home.
Yep. We'll get it figured out for him, right?
When we found out it was twins, we had already thought, oh, Alex will work somewhere else. Like maybe a few days a week he needs to get out of the house. Like it's less stressful for him. It's less stressful for me. And then when we found out it was twins, she's like, Katie, I don't know how I can leave you at home with 4 kids. But I don't know how I can work at home with 4 kids.
Yeah.
So we'll figure it out.
Yep. If any of Alex's bosses are listening,
he's working
very
from home.
Productive.
He's very working from home.
Yes.
And also, if anybody's listening that has any twin help suggestions,
leave them in the comments, right? Like, let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
Well, good episode.
Yeah. For more information and resources, head to pv-wp.com. See you soon.
The Retirement Readiness Podcast with Tim Regan and Katie Umland. Presented by Prairie View Wealth and Tax Advisors. Live your 2 comma life. Learn more at pv-wp.com. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe to the Retirement Readiness Podcast on your preferred podcast platform.